Rick Harrison's son Cory just leaked the shocking bombshell about his father to the entire world. Yes, the charismatic frontman of Pawn Stars just had his legacy torn to shreds. Not by the media, not by federal investigators, but by his own flesh and blood. Cory has finally broken his silence, and what he's saying doesn't just raise eyebrows, it opens the door to something far more disturbing. A story not of pricey collectibles and wisecracks at the pawn counter, but of lies, betrayal, and the dark secrets of his pops, who fooled millions for over a decade. It all started quietly. Whispers, rumors, a few odd sightings, but everything came crashing into the public eye on what began as just another morning in Las Vegas. At around sunrise, black SUVs rolled up outside Rick Harrison's estate. Federal agents in tactical gear swept the property with purpose. There was no warning, no public statement, just a warrant sealed by a federal judge and a raid that had been in the making for over 16 months. Neighbors described the scene like something out of a movie. Agents with drawn weapons, sealed crates being hauled out of the mansion, and teams entering what looked like hidden access points around the property. This wasn't some fishing expedition. They knew exactly what they were looking for. According to internal sources, the raid was triggered by a tip, anonymous but detailed. It mentioned a shipment, a crate. Something was delivered discreetly to Rick's home weeks earlier. When agents finally got into that crate, what they found stunned even seasoned investigators. Foreign currency, unregistered firearms, and a stash of documents linking Harrison to individuals with known ties to organized crime syndicates. But this was only the beginning. Inside the house, agents discovered hidden rooms behind bookshelves and false walls. Not panic rooms or storage closets, rooms filled with safes, surveillance footage, ledgers, and encrypted hard drives. There were blueprints for something massive, something off the books, and most chillingly, references to human trafficking operations connected to Eastern European and Central American networks. For days, the media speculated. The internet exploded with conspiracy theories, but none of them came close to what was revealed next. Cory Harrison stepped forward, and instead of defending his father, he torched him. The interview wasn't staged. It wasn't glossy. Just Cory sitting in a small room, his hands trembling slightly as the weight of what he was about to say settled on his shoulders. "I can't carry this anymore," he began. "I grew up watching him lie, I lived in that lie, and I let it go too far." He described years of mounting suspicion, late-night disappearances, the strange visitors, men who never gave names, who came in through the back door of the pawn shop, stayed for hours and left without saying a word. He recalled nights when Rick would come home looking like he'd been in a fight, blood on his cuffs, scratches on his neck. The explanations were always vague. "Treasure hunts," Rick would say. "We dug up something wild today." But there was never anything to show for it. No coins, no artifacts, just silence. Cory then talked about the no-go zones in the pawn shop areas, sealed off even from him. Rooms with biometric locks, windows blacked out with welded plates, and a basement he was never allowed to enter. "I used to think it was paranoia," he admitted, "that he was just protecting rare items or something valuable, but now I know what he was hiding." The turning point came when Cory borrowed his father's SUV one weekend. Rick was out of town, the vehicle was low on gas, and Cory didn't think twice before checking the trunk for jumper cables. Instead, he found a locked briefcase, and being curious about what was inside, he picked the lock, only to find photos. These photos weren't some vacation snapshots or some business receipts. These were the photos of skeletal remains, charred bones, cryptic notes in Rick's handwriting, things like Phase 2 complete and disposal site confirmed. Alongside the notes were receipts for heavy equipment rentals, remote cabin rentals in Utah and Arizona, and wire transfers to shell companies based in Belize and the Caymans. "That was the moment everything changed," Cory said. "I used to think he was just a strange, secretive guy. Now I believe he was capable of anything." He took the briefcase to the authorities a week later. It was that move, his decision to turn against his own father, that ignited the investigation and ultimately led to the raid. It also destroyed whatever remained of their relationship. But Cory didn't stop there. He told investigators about things he'd seen as a kid, such as unmarked boxes being delivered to their old home late at night. He remembered waking up once to find Rick burying something in the backyard, only to claim it was time capsules for the shop. He recalled hearing phone conversations in foreign languages, threatening tones and cryptic statements like, "Make sure it doesn't talk and it'll look like an accident." Cory even admitted he was scared to speak up for years. "He was my dad," he said. "I thought if I just stayed out of it, it would go away." "I didn't want to believe any of it was real, but it was. And now I have to live with what I didn't stop." The aftermath has been swift and brutal. Rickharrison was arrested without bail, and now he faces a list of charges that reads like an unhinged troublemaker: money laundering, conspiracy to commit human trafficking, illegal arms dealing, and obstruction of justice. The FBI sources have sealed their mouths shut, but insiders say the case is sprawling, with evidence implicating multiple figures in the Las Vegas underground economy. Pawn Stars has been pulled. The History Channel released a single statement: "We are shocked and deeply disturbed by the allegations and have ceased all programming related to Mr. Harrison indefinitely." Merchandise was yanked from online stores. Brand partnerships collapsed overnight, and fans were left stunned. Some mourned the loss of a cultural staple. Others felt betrayed, realizing the man who spent a decade laughing on TV may have been hiding a monstrous secret the entire time. As for Cory, his testimony continues. Legal experts say his cooperation may spare him from prosecution, especially if he's able to help trace funds or identify other co-conspirators. But no matter the outcome, his relationship with his father is beyond repair. When asked about Rick's potential life sentence, Cory didn't flinch. "It's not enough," he said. "I think about the people who were hurt, the people who didn't get a choice. I think about how long I stayed quiet. How many people might still be alive if I had just said something sooner. That guilt, it doesn't go away." He added, "He fooled everyone, but I saw the cracks. I lived inside that house. I saw the monster before anyone else did." And now, as the trial approaches, more details are expected to come to light. Coded communications, offshore laundering routes, and possibly a broader trafficking ring with ties across state lines and potentially international borders. But for many, the damage is already done. The empire Rick built was never real. The laughs, the lessons, the family-run shop, it was all just a mask. A polished surface hides rot underneath.